Alright, tonight's lesson is multiplying two decimals. Last night we multiplied a decimal by a whole number, and so tonight we're going to take it one step further and multiply two decimals together. If you notice on this first slide, I just have several problems where you are multiplying two decimals. So let's go through and kind of see how this is going to work. I've just written a problem over here, 9.3 times 4.1, and right beside it I put the steps so that you can kind of remember how you do this. What I'm going to ask you to try to remember to do when you're multiplying decimals is multiply as usual before you do anything else. Pretend like those decimals aren't there. Don't bring decimals down because we don't do that in multiplication. So once you have multiplied as usual, then we'll move on to step 3. But let's go ahead and do that. So we have 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 9 is 9. Now it's been a while since we've multiplied. Remember, you have to have that placeholder here because we're now working with this 4. We're now in the tens place, so we're not in the ones place anymore. 4 times 3 is 12. Put in your 2, carry your 1. 4 times 9 is 36, plus 1 is 37. Go ahead and add up your two partial products. 3 plus 0 is 3. 9 plus 2 is 11. 7 plus 1 is 8. And bring down your 3. Now, here's where step 2 comes in. We've multiplied the two decimals together. Now, once you have an answer, notice you don't have decimals anywhere, either in your partial products or in your final product. Here is where you go and you look at the factors. Look at the two factors in the problem. And you're looking past the decimal. So I see in this factor, there's one number past the decimal. And in this factor, there's also one number past the decimal, or to the right of the decimal. I count them both. So technically in this problem, there are 2 digits past the decimal point. What that means is in my answer, in my product, I have to have 2 digits past the decimal point. So I'm going to go 1, 2, place my decimal. I can go back and check. There's 2 numbers after the decimal point up here. Down here, there are 2 numbers past the decimal point in the answer. So this is now correct. 9 3/10 times 4 1/10 equals 38 13 hundredths. Okay? On to this next one. This is a 3-digit times a 2-digit. Really no big deal. We're just going to pretend again that the decimals aren't there, just for our multiplication purposes. 6 times 2 is 12. Put down your 2, carry your 1. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 6 times 3 is 18. Now, there's no need to put anything else here because in the tens column, it's 0. And we know the 0 property tells us that anything times 0 is 0. So there's no need to even go any further in this problem. Now let's count the digits past the decimal point in both factors. We have 1, 2, 3. That means when you write your answer, you have to have 3 numbers past the decimal point in your answer. Just like we had up here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 3 2/100 times 6/10 is 1 812 thousandths. Now, if you'll take a look at this one, this one's written horizontally, and obviously we're not multiplying powers of 10, so we can't multiply this horizontally. We need to set it up. And I always set it up with the most digits on top. Notice I got rid of the 0 because the 0 before the decimal point means nothing. Okay, so it's okay to do that. We could put a 0 there, but just like here, it's pointless. We're not going to do the multiplication there, so just go ahead and do it like this. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 6 is 13. Okay, so I just multiplied normally, ignored my decimals. Now that I have an answer, it's time to look at my decimals. There's 1 digit here, and there's 1 digit here. So there's a total of 2 digits in this whole problem, 2 digits after the decimal point. So in my answer, there has to be 2 digits after the decimal point. So 1 9/10 times 7/10 is 1 33 hundredths. Okay, let's try one more. Here again, here's a horizontal problem. So we're just going to go ahead and set it up vertically. 12.6 times 0.2. Remember again, you don't need that 0. It's worth nothing. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, we just multiplied normally. Now let's look past the decimal. We have 2 digits in this problem, past the decimal point, which means in our answer we have to have 2 digits past the decimal point. Okay? Now, pretty quick lesson today. I want you to show me some things on your notes page in parts 1, part 2, and part 3. I want you to work 3 problems for me. Part 1 says Nancy walked 1 7/10 miles in 1 hour. If she walks at the same rate, how far will she walk in 1.5 hours? So I want you to set this problem up for me. How would you tell how far she walked if she walked this much in an hour, and now we want to know how much she will walk in 1.5 hours? Excuse me. Part 2, same kind of problem. A bag of grass seed weighs 5 8/10 of a pound. How many pounds would 2.5 or 2.5 bags weigh? Again, if you would set this up for me, set the problem up for me, just over here, or actually on your notes page, look at the information in the problem and decide how you would figure that out. Excuse me. And finally, part 3. If you would work this problem, just this problem I've already set up for you, remembering the steps as you go. And you can flip back in the video if you forget. But basically, the first thing you do is ignore those decimals and multiply. Don't forget your placeholder if it's 2 digit times 2 digit, or if there's anything that's going to take you where you need a placeholder. And then after you're finished working out the problem, then go back and count your numbers after the decimal point. Make sure your answer shows the same thing. Tomorrow in class, we'll be working on lots of problems like this just to get some good practice in. I will see you then.